The rain began just after 10 o'clock. By 11, it had turned into one of those Georgia storms that rattled windows and sent tree branches scraping against rooftops. Inside the Carter family home on the west side of Atlanta, Naomi Carter carefully folded tiny baby clothes on the bed. A pale yellow onesie, 2 pairs of socks no bigger than her hand, and a soft blanket embroidered with little stars. She smiled as her baby kicked. "Easy there," she whispered, resting both hands on her 7-month pregnant belly. "You've got 2 more months before you can start making this much noise." A knock sounded at the bedroom door. Marcus stepped inside, loosening his tie after another 12-hour day at the family construction company. "There are my favorite people," Naomi laughed. "One of us has been kicking me all evening." Marcus knelt beside her, placing his hand gently against her stomach. "Hey, little champ, go easy on your mama." Another kick. Marcus grinned. "I think that's your answer." For a moment, the world outside disappeared. The storm, the stress, the endless tension inside this house. None of it mattered. Not while they were together. Then a sharp voice echoed from downstairs. "Marcus." He closed his eyes. "My mother." Naomi offered him a reassuring smile. "It's okay. Go. I'll be right back." As soon as Marcus left, Naomi's smile faded. She loved her husband with all her heart. But loving Marcus had come with a price. His mother, Evelyn Carter, had never accepted her. Not because Naomi had done anything wrong, simply because she believed no woman was good enough for her youngest son. 3 years of marriage hadn't changed that. Neither had the baby Naomi was carrying. If anything, Evelyn had become colder. Naomi quietly carried the folded baby clothes to the nursery across the hall. The room wasn't large, but every corner had been prepared with love. Marcus had painted the walls himself. They couldn't afford expensive furniture, so they had bought most of it second-hand. To Naomi, it was perfect. She placed a tiny teddy bear inside the crib and smiled. "This is your room." A tear escaped before she could stop it, not because she was sad, because she was grateful. She had dreamed about becoming a mother for years. After doctors told her it might never happen, this baby felt like a miracle. She silently prayed that nothing would ever take that joy away. Downstairs, voices grew louder. Marcus stood in the dining room facing his mother. "I already told you, Mom. Naomi isn't coming to work at the company office." Evelyn folded her arms. "She's perfectly capable. She's 7 months pregnant. Women have worked while pregnant for generations." Marcus shook his head. "My wife needs rest." Derek, Marcus's older brother, looked up from his phone. "Or maybe she just doesn't want to help." Marcus turned sharply. "Watch what you say. I'm just telling the truth." "No," Marcus replied calmly. "You're making assumptions." Evelyn stepped closer. "Ever since that girl came into this family, you've changed." Marcus sighed. "I've grown up. You've abandoned your responsibilities. My responsibility is my wife and child." The room fell silent. Those words landed harder than Marcus intended. Evelyn's expression tightened. "So that's it. What? We come second now." Marcus softened his voice. "Mom, that's not what I said." "It's exactly what you said." Before he could answer, Naomi appeared at the foot of the stairs. She had heard enough. "I don't want anyone fighting because of me." Marcus immediately walked over. "You shouldn't be standing. I'm okay." She smiled gently. "I just wanted everyone to calm down." For a brief second, it looked as though the tension might ease. Then Derek laughed. "You always know how to play the victim." Naomi stared at him. "I've never asked anyone to take my side." "You don't have to." He pointed toward Marcus. "He does it for you." Marcus took one step forward. "Derek." "What?" "If you can't speak to my wife respectfully, what are you going to do?" The brothers stood face to face. Naomi quickly placed a hand on Marcus's arm. "Please." Marcus looked at her. Her eyes silently begged him not to let the argument grow worse. He slowly stepped back. "I'm done." He took Naomi's hand. "We're going upstairs." As they reached the staircase, Evelyn spoke without turning around. "If you walk away now." Marcus paused. "Don't expect things to stay the same." He slowly turned. "What does that mean?" "It means every decision has consequences." Marcus held her gaze. "So does every action." Without another word, he and Naomi walked upstairs. Neither of them noticed Evelyn glance toward Derek. He gave the smallest nod, a silent agreement. Something had already been set in motion. Neither Marcus nor Naomi knew it yet. But before the sun rose again, they would no longer have a place to call home. Marcus barely slept. Long after Naomi drifted off, he lay awake staring at the ceiling. His mother's words kept replaying in his mind. Don't expect things to stay the same. He had heard threats before, but something about this one felt different. The next morning, he kissed Naomi goodbye before leaving for work. "I'll be home early," he promised. "You've been saying that all week," Naomi teased. He smiled. "And today I'm actually going to do it." As he walked out the door, Naomi watched from the window until his truck disappeared down the street. She didn't know it would be the last normal moment of her day. Around noon, Evelyn knocked on Naomi's bedroom door. "We need to talk." Naomi set aside the baby blanket she had been sewing. "Of course." Evelyn remained standing. "I've spent 3 years trying to accept you." Naomi looked up quietly. "I know we haven't always agreed." "This isn't about agreement." Evelyn's voice remained cold. "It's about this family falling apart." Naomi took a slow breath. "I've never wanted Marcus to choose between us, but he already has. I love your son, and because of that, he barely sees his own family anymore." Naomi stood carefully. "Evelyn, families change. Sons grow up. They become husbands and fathers. They shouldn't forget where they came from. They don't have to." There was a long silence. For a moment, Naomi thought she saw sadness in Evelyn's eyes. Then it disappeared. "You'll understand one day." Without another word, Evelyn walked away. Across town, Marcus arrived at the construction office. As soon as he stepped inside, the receptionist lowered her eyes. "Mr. Carter, is everything okay? I'm supposed to give you this." She handed him a large envelope. Marcus opened it. His heart sank. His employment had been terminated, effective immediately. He walked straight into his mother's office. "You fired me?" Evelyn calmly signed another document before looking up. "I removed you from the company. You didn't even talk to me. I already knew what you would choose." Marcus stared at her. "You'd rather lose your son than accept my wife?" "I'd rather protect this family." Marcus shook his head. "No." His voice was quiet but steady. "You're protecting your pride." He placed the termination letter on her desk. "I'm done begging you to accept the woman I love." He turned and walked out. For the first time in his life, he left without looking back. The storm returned just before sunset. Dark clouds rolled across the sky as Marcus drove home. He had already made up his mind. He and Naomi would leave, even if they had to rent a tiny apartment, even if they had to start over. They would build a life of their own. As he turned onto his street, he noticed the front door standing open. His stomach tightened. He parked and hurried inside. Naomi stood in the living room with tears in her eyes. A single suitcase rested beside her. "What happened?" Before she could answer, Derek spoke. "Mom's had enough." Marcus looked toward Evelyn. "What is this?" "You two need to leave." Marcus blinked. "Tonight?" "Tonight." Marcus laughed in disbelief. "It's pouring outside. You'll manage." He looked at Naomi. She was holding her stomach with one hand, trying to stay calm. "She's pregnant." "I know. She needs rest. And she can find it somewhere else." Marcus stepped in front of his wife. "I'm not taking her into that storm." Evelyn picked up the house keys from the table. "Then don't." She walked to the front door and opened it. Cold wind rushed inside. Rain splashed across the hardwood floor. "This house belongs to me." Marcus felt something inside him finally break. Not anger, not hatred, just the painful realization that the mother he loved had chosen control over compassion. He gently picked up the suitcase. Then he looked at Naomi. "Come on." She searched his face. "Where are we going?" He managed a small smile. "I don't know yet. But wherever we end up," he slipped his hand into hers. "We'll face it together." Without another word, they stepped into the storm. The front door slammed shut behind them. Marcus stood silently for a moment, staring at the house where he had spent almost his entire life. Then he turned away. Rain soaked them within seconds. They had no plan, no destination, only each other. Several blocks later, Naomi suddenly stopped walking. She winced and grabbed Marcus's arm. He immediately became alarmed. "Naomi? My back?" She took a slow breath. "It just hurts." Marcus looked around the empty street. There wasn't another person in sight. Then, through the curtain of rain, headlights appeared. A dark sedan slowed to a stop beside them. The driver's window rolled down. An older black man looked at them with kind, concerned eyes. "You folks look like you've had a very difficult night." Marcus instinctively stepped closer to Naomi. The stranger gave a reassuring smile. "My name is Samuel Brooks." He glanced at Naomi's hospital bag before looking back at Marcus. "If you'll let me, I think I can help." Marcus hesitated. Every instinct told him to protect Naomi. But one look at her pale face was enough to make the decision. He nodded. "We appreciate it." Samuel stepped out of the sedan and opened the back door. "My wife always told me that when someone is carrying a child, you never let them stand in the rain." His smile faded for a moment. "I lost her 5 years ago. Helping people is how I honor her." Marcus helped Naomi into the warm car. As the heater began to chase away the cold, Naomi finally let out the breath she'd been holding. "Thank you," she whispered. Samuel simply nodded. No family should have to go through a night like this. 15 minutes later, they arrived at Grace Harbor Family Center, a small nonprofit that offered emergency shelter to families in crisis. The building wasn't fancy, but it was warm. The smell of homemade soup drifted through the hallway. A smiling woman named Lorraine greeted them at the door. "You must be the couple Samuel called about." Within minutes, Naomi had dry clothes, a hot meal, and a comfortable bed. A volunteer nurse checked her blood pressure and listened to the baby's heartbeat. She smiled. "Your little one is doing just fine." Marcus closed his eyes in relief. For the first time that day, he felt hope. The next morning, Samuel found Marcus sitting alone outside with a cup of coffee. "You didn't sleep much." Marcus shook his head. "I keep wondering if I failed my wife." Samuel sat beside him. "You know what failure would have been." Marcus looked at him. "Leaving her to face that storm alone." Marcus lowered his head. "I should have moved us out months ago." "Maybe." Samuel smiled kindly. "But yesterday is a lesson." He pointed toward the shelter. "Today is your opportunity." Lorraine helped Marcus prepare a resume. By the end of the week, he interviewed with a respected construction company. The owner didn't ask about Marcus's family. He only asked about his work. When the interview ended, the owner smiled. "I've spoken with your former co-workers." Marcus's heart sank. Then the man continued. "They all said the same thing. You're honest. You lead by example. And you'd protect your team before yourself." The owner stood and extended his hand. "If you're interested, I'd like to offer you the position." Marcus could hardly speak. "Thank you." "No." The owner smiled. "Thank you for reminding me that character still matters." Meanwhile, Naomi began helping in the shelter's children's reading room while waiting for the baby to arrive. Every afternoon, she read stories to children whose families were rebuilding their lives. One little boy asked, "Are you having a baby?" Naomi laughed. "I am. My mom says babies bring hope." Naomi rested her hand on her belly. "I think your mom is right." A month later, Marcus and Naomi moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment. It wasn't large. The furniture didn't match. The kitchen was tiny. But every corner was filled with peace. Marcus hung their wedding photo in the living room. Naomi placed the baby's crib beside the window. She smiled. "This feels like home." Marcus wrapped his arms around her. "Because we're building it together." 2 months later, their son was born. Healthy, strong, beautiful. Marcus held him with tears streaming down his face. "Welcome to the world, Joshua." Naomi smiled. "He has your eyes. And your smile." They laughed together as Samuel quietly watched from the doorway. "You picked a good name," he said. Marcus nodded. "It means God is salvation." Samuel smiled. "I think this little boy has already reminded a lot of people what hope looks like." Not long afterward, Evelyn stood outside the apartment building. She had driven there 3 times before finding the courage to knock. When Marcus opened the door, neither of them spoke. Finally, Evelyn whispered, "I came to apologize." Marcus listened. "I spent so much time trying to keep my family together." She looked down. "That I ended up tearing it apart." Naomi stepped into the hallway holding baby Joshua. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry." Naomi looked at Marcus. He gave a small nod. She walked closer. "I can't pretend that night didn't happen." Evelyn nodded. "I understand. But I also don't want Joshua to grow up surrounded by bitterness." Naomi gently placed the baby in Evelyn's trembling arms. For a few minutes, Evelyn looked down at her grandson and began to cry. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. Marcus rested a hand on his mother's shoulder. "Forgiveness is the first step." He looked her in the eyes. "Trust takes longer." "I know, and I'm willing to earn it." Marcus nodded. "Then let's start there." Outside, the rain had finally stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a warm glow across the apartment windows. Marcus looked at Naomi, then at his son. Months earlier, they had walked into a storm with nothing but one suitcase and each other. Now they had something far greater than wealth or a big house. They had a home built on love, respect, and second chances. Sometimes the people who close their doors on you don't realize they're pushing you toward the place where your life is truly meant to begin. Call to action. If this story touched your heart, remember that kindness can change a person's life in a single moment. Share this story with someone who believes compassion still matters. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more inspiring stories of hope, family, and second chances.